Nintendo 64 present. A Playguide and video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to another Lemon 64 play guide and review. In this week's episode, we'll be checking out Gyruss, a shoot 'em up licensed from the arcade Konami original by the Parker brothers in 1984. And when the game loads, we will find a very basic title screen with a very nice Starfield effect. So let's press fire and check this game out. In Gyruss, all we have to do is to fly in circles around the screen, taking on everything within it. When everything disappears within it, we'll move on to the next section. And, well, the next stage, perhaps, and there are 3 stages in each section, and at the end of each section, that is marked by a planet, followed by a bonus level. You can see we are in single firepower at the moment, but at the end of all these waves, we do get a launch of energy, thanks to a nice bonus top-up. And if we hit the sun in the middle of that bonus, we'll get double fire. Now all we have to do is to attack these guys in exactly the same pattern as we did on the first stage. Yes, they will appear in exactly the same format, so let's get rid of those in exactly the same way. Destroy a whole wave as it appears from the center of the screen, then we'll gain 1,000 points. And if we destroy one of these blue things, then that will also give us a few thousand points, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 points there. If I destroy the final one, and the very final enemy on the screen will give us 1,000 points as well. Between each space journey, we'll get to undertake a bonus level, and I really apologise for the graphics flashing away there. I don't quite understand if that is the game or whether that is my screen ripper, but you can see by staying in the correct position, and yes, I am actually using also fire to play this game at the moment, although we will turn that off a little later on. If we stay in the correct position, then we'll gain a super bonus of 10,000 points, and that really adds to the score. The next set of stages are very much easier than the previous ones, given the fact that we can stay central and we can blast with that fire button. If we maneuver it to the very last position where those enemies are attacked, then that is a safe spot. So you can see it appeared from the diagonal corner, so that is where I went, and the previous one appeared from the left side, so that is where I am going, and that gives us temporary invulnerability, and then we can get on with the rest. If there are enough enemies on the screen by the time all the waves have attacked and cleared, then we will gain the extra top up there, and that will give us double shoot or a few thousand points. And then, yes, we have to tackle the same level all over again on the second stage, and once the player has memorized where those guys attack from, it is possible to be brave and to destroy a few of those. And if you don't leave enough of those on the screen, then you won't get the sun and the blue enemies at the end to destroy for bonus points. But again, if you do destroy an entire wave in one go, then we'll gain 1,000 points. So there you go, we have actually gained the bonuses at the end. So sometimes patience in this game rewards the player with an extra 5,000 at the end, and I've no idea what those things are, which is just flown by at the bottom of the screen. They could be warps or they could be instant death. So let's just fly around in circles there and appreciate this great Starfield effect. But I do apologise once again for the flickering. The third and the final time, let's appreciate exactly the same level all over again. And once again, you'll see me going to the same place where the last enemies appeared, and that gives us that invulnerability. With the auto fire, it is relatively easy, but as we shall see later on, I will be switching that off, and it is exactly the same. So let's just get through these enemies. Let's just take down the usual pattern, and you will find if you fly in the rotation, no bullets will get us, none of those lasers will land on target, and that gives us an extra life. Yes, all we have to do is to rotate constantly in the same direction, just like this, and that will help us defeat the enemies in the game. Meanwhile, we've managed to land on a chance stage, and we will not die whilst we are going through this bonus chance stage. And let's see, well, that's the first wave destroyed, and it is easier when you know where those guys will emerge, and you have the auto fire, you can lay into those. You can see it increases by 500 points every time I get rid of a complete wave. Let's see if we can get the bonus. That's 2,000, and the final one of the 5 should be 2,500, and that will give us the 10,000 points. The destruction continues on the next level, and all we have to do is to find where they emerge on the screen and blast away at that to destroy most of those enemies. If we can, we'll gain that 1,000, which will go up by 500 every time we clear a wave, and unfortunately if you let one escape just like that, or a couple, then you will not get the bonus. So those things start to accumulate now, and let's rush by those bonuses there, because those bonuses actually fire lasers, and you'll be surprised how many times I've died because of colliding with lasers from those blue bonus things, and that is basically incredible. And then guess what? It's exactly the same formula. Let's try that all over again. Let's go to those hit spots with the auto fire. Let's knock those things out, and let's try to get as many points and bonuses as possible. Even though the levels follow a similar pattern each time, unfortunately the bonus stages do not, and you can memorize these because they do not appear at random, they are pre-selected, and you may see me preempting that, hoping that I am actually in the right area to take all those down. Yes, it does take some memorizing to find out where those appear, and to get to the correct spot to knock those out. And you can see, if we don't, and we'll let some go, then we'll gain some bonuses, 100 points for every one that we knocked out, and that isn't much, I'm afraid. And while I've gained over 1,000,000 points in this game, we are still only at 100,000. We still haven't made our first run yet, and this game goes all the way to the Earth. We are heading for Jupiter at the moment, and so we have just as much time to get there as we have already. At this stage, it's again trying to memorize these levels, and because those things emerge from the center, yet again we can preempt those and milk those and grab a great score. and unfortunately if we do that, once again we won't get the thousands at the end, but what we will get is an easy fast ride through that level. So you may give up the 5,000 at the end, but you'll probably gain 5,000 hopefully from gaining all those waves. Level 2 reveals exactly the same thing again, and if you forget where they appear, sometimes it is possible to get those anyway and get the bonus treasure, and sometimes it isn't. You can see by going into those diagonals there, milking that bonus treasure isn't so hard after all. And once again, let's grab those thousands, skip straight on to the next level, and we can do this level all over again. The randomness of these bonus stages continues, and it is possible to memorize these, of course, but I'm not having much trouble doing that at the moment. You can see the graphics in Gyruss are very functional. Of course, it is based on the original Konami arcade machine, and it has been ported virtually like for like, and maybe not as good as the arcade machine, but this is Gyruss after all. This conversion was created by Joe Hellison, and after this he went on to one-on-one Jordan versus Larry Bird in 1988 on the C64, a very mediocre Basket Master clone. And Joe Hellison, I'm not quite sure what he did after that. But Parker Brothers were a major impact on the C64. Parker Brothers were a publishing company, and in 1983 they published Q*bert, converted that. In 1983 they also converted Star Wars and Frogger. In 1984 they created Popeye and also Montezuma's Revenge, which was a game all on its own. And I really do appreciate that most of these have actually been covered and converted onto the Amiga, particularly Star Wars, Q*bert and Popeye. So Parker Brothers there may have only been a publishing company, but they certainly had an impact in the early 80s on the C64. Meanwhile, on the C64, you can see we are only 2 warps to go until we get to Mars, so we're almost home. Again, if you know all those things emerge on the screen, then you can just take those things down pretty smartly, and if you strafe around in circles, then none of those lasers will find us. It's as easy as that. But I will not be moving around in circles and spiralling intentionally in this game. What I will be doing is to try to knock these out the legitimate way, or at least as far as you can do with the auto fire. But we will be switching that off a little later. So here we go, momentarily. Let's destroy those enemies. Let's just get there. And again, I have earned over 1 million points in this game by sitting here for virtually 4 hours. And again, we haven't even reached 200,000. And I don't think we gain any bonus for reaching the Earth either. But let's just continue, let's just play this same level all over again, and it's great at this point that the game provides us with a means of knocking all those out, and that saves us time, because we do not want to be hanging around if we want to loop this game 5 or 6 times and get those great points. So let's just knock those out, and it's the same level as before. Sometimes those corners aren't particularly safe because sometimes they fly into those, but I've noticed if you go into the corners, as long as you take out the ones in the middle before the next wave appears, then you will gain 1,000 points, or however many you have accumulated. And so here we go, on to Mars. And the graphics in this game, again, are functional. Let's talk about the music. Well, it really does increase in pace, because when the time runs out, there is a timer in this game, and that's when the bonuses will start to appear. after the 5 waves usually, but sometimes the timer music actually appears sooner than the actual 5th wave. But I think the music is relatively well done. I wouldn't say it's the greatest music in the world, but don't forget this was created in 1984. That was a long time ago, and they didn't have the advantages of the advanced SID technology. Now that we are reaching the final ascent towards Earth, let's switch off the auto fire and let's try to tackle these levels manually. And of course you will see me pausing now while I try to recover my fire button, but for the main I will be hammering this fire button trying to take on these enemies. The trick to the final 3 stages is to go to the top of the screen and destroy the first 2 waves as best as possible, return to the bottom, and that should avoid the next 3. And then you can take on the ones in the middle and take on all those bonuses. So avoidance is the opportunity here, and as long as you do avoid those corners, don't forget, and take on those things, again don't get blown up by the blue clover things which appear, because they do fire those missiles out and they will blow us up if we linger. Let's just run and gun, and that's the level over. And now all we have to do is to complete that same level, go to the top and the bottom 3 more times. I certainly remember having this game at the time, and in the 1980s when this appeared. Unfortunately, it was one of those games on a tape full of other games, i.e. a cracked tape, and I never got to appreciate the art of the cover and things like that. But not like I read the story either in those days. I appreciated a great game, but I never got that far. I always thought it was harder than it was, but then again, using the auto fire, it is pretty easy. But we are reaching the end now of the planet Earth, and you can see all we have to do is to go to the top and then the bottom, and then we can pick off the last few guys. And I think there's still one more wave to go after this, and unfortunately I'm incorrect. This is the planet Earth, and so I don't think we gained any more bonus for reaching that planet, but what we do gain is a bonus stage, bonus levels, are always important. Let's see if we can clear those away. And look at that, almost, but not quite. That's ruined our chances. That 10,000 bonus is amazing, and I have been known to collect that at the most opportune moments. I can really speed us forward in the scores, but we're not going to gain that mega score now, unfortunately, because we cannot memorize this level. So here we go, that's the Earth completed. We'll gain the 3,400 for completing that. And now the game loops, and we find ourselves at the very edge of the solar system, and we have to get to the Earth all over again. Luckily, the attack patterns do not change, and if you've memorized the ones leading up to Neptune, you'll find that they are pretty identical to the ones that you've already found on Neptune. And if you've got through these already, then it's easy to continue. My ideal solution is to take down one arm of the double arm that appears there in that attack wave, and you can leave the other side alone. As long as you get rid of half of those, and be brave there. Again, as long as we move it in circles and we don't stop and turn back like that, well, as long as we keep moving in the same direction, we can avoid all that firepower. And so let's fast forward this game, and I do apologise that the sound sync was laggy at the time, and I didn't always get time to correct that before I released this edit, which was created on the Saturday afternoon. But we'll just fast forward there to get somewhere near that 300,000 score. And yes, it did take me most of the afternoon to score the million. Unfortunately, when you do score over 1 million points in this game, the score loops and it resets back to 0. So that means you can't prove to your friends that you've scored 1 million points. There is no high score table, unfortunately, in this game, and of course nothing saves to tape or a disc. But we shall be reaching that 300,000, and let's go into that diagonal corner, the one that saved us last time, the one that gives all those points. And unfortunately, even hammering that fire button means we cannot collect all those guys, even though we know the opportune place to be. So there you go, collect the last one. It is very much harder with the manual fire button there, and it is possible, but you have to be so much quicker. During our second loop of this game, the repetitiveness starts to show through, and that's mainly why I'm speeding this up, because if you saw exactly the same waves as you saw the first time around, you would get pretty bored. But as long as we get through Neptune and carry on towards Uranus, then you will find an easier time of it. Let's check out the bonus stage again, and remember last time we attempted this, we had the auto fire, and I have attempted to memorize where these guys appear on this second bonus level, but it is paying off at the moment. I am hammering that fire button and it's certainly paying off. You have to chase after those, but look at that, just let one go and that's the chance over. So it is difficult, but in the main this game is a dawdle. You can see we have 5 lives at the moment. We actually have 6, because after you have 5 lives, then the next ones will carry over. And so when we die, you may notice that the lives do not reset. And they will reset later on. We will be losing extra lives. But the only way that I've found to die in this game is to collide with one of those asteroids, or to momentarily pause whilst you are rotating clockwise or anti-clockwise in this game. As long as you are doing one or the other, then that's fine, because the enemies will fire towards our last known location, and as long as we are moving away from that, then obviously they will never ever land on the target. So always avoid those, but lie in wait for those enemies to appear as much as possible, and hopefully you'll get that bonus score. So I have time for this game. It certainly has appeal, but remember this game loops incessantly forever, and the high scores don't even give us a great high score when we do that. So I think the highest high score is probably 999,999. But there you go, that's 1 life wasted, and there you go, it is actually showing that we have 4 lives remaining, but it won't be long before we can collect another life, and then we have 5, and then we'll have 6, and etc, etc. Every time you loot these levels, you'll gain at least 2, maybe even 3 lives, and so even if you kill yourself 3 times on your journey towards Earth, you'll gain enough lives in the next round of journeys to top yourself all the way back up. And this leads to an endlessly repeating, looping game. And that is not amazing for a games competition. And this is the very final day that we're running this currently in a Lemon 64 games competition. And I'm the first one to score over 1 million points. Unfortunately, my screenshot did not work. And so I've had to record this to prove I can at least score 300,000, which is a joke and a dawdle. So here we go, thank you for viewing, and I hope you enjoy this game. Thanks very much.